All right, let's try this again. Part 2 of if you want your life to change, you've got to put in the work. We're going to wait for Shakti to get back on. And then, all right, Shakti. And we'll share this shit out again.
Yo, I'm back.
All right.
So I got a phone call. Apparently when you get a phone call in these like shared videos, it just automatically boots you out. It's not like when you're doing a normal live where you can just hang back. It doesn't do that. It automatically just kicks you out. So, yes.
All right. Well, I keep my phone on Do Not Disturb like all the time.
Yeah.
Because otherwise I get distracted. So, you know.
I need to learn that skill set. Yeah. Technology. Hey,
yeah. All right, so we're doing part 2. Feel free to share this out too, guys. Like, share this out. Tag people if you have people who need to see this. I'm gonna share this out real quick, and then we'll get right back to what we were talking about. Because what I was talking about when you got frozen, Shakti, was that it factors into regret, right? And you always hear people at the end of their lives on their deathbed when they're like, I wish I would have done that thing. I wish I would have done that thing. Well, there's a reason, right? They wish they would have done that thing because when shit got hard, they backed away. When shit got hard, they said no, right?
Yep.
And then the other thing that I was going to say in regards to all of that, oh, fuck, what was I going to say? Oh, just that it'll show up in other areas of your life. So when you say no to one area of your life, it's going to show up somewhere else. When you say no to showing up to the discomfort of emotional eating, it's going to show up in some other area of your life. When you say no to showing up for the discomfort of quitting that dream that you deep down, when it's a soul's desire, when you say no to it, it's going to show up in multiple other ways for you to face it. And I said this in our video when we talked about the dark night of the soul, because I like Shakti, the difference between our journeys is that she has openly jumped into multiple dark nights, whereas I didn't necessarily have the awareness. I was the person that was like, nope, that's uncomfortable, I'm gonna run. Nope, that's uncomfortable, I'm gonna run. Nope, that's uncomfortable, I'm gonna run, until I was knocked on my ass and I was like, oh, okay, this is what happens when you don't face your shit. The universe is like, nah, bitch, you're going to face it now. I couldn't run anymore. Like, I could not run anymore. And so it will show up in other areas of your life until you have no other choice but to show up for the lesson. Because if you don't, it's going to get more and more painful. Like, that's just the honest truth.
It's extremely true. It's extremely true. And then it'll start manifesting as disease, you guys.
Yes.
Like, I really want you to hear this.
Yes.
Like, it begins with you denying something that really needs to change in your life, or denying a core desire, as Anne just said, a soul desire of yours, or denying a passion or a curiosity or an endeavor. And then it turns into, as a result, having negative thought patterns and feeling down about yourself and doubting yourself and all these things. And then it turns into ill will, and then it turns into sickness over a long-term period of time. And that's how powerful our minds are, that it can actually become something physical if you suppress it long enough. And so when we talk about you can't get to where we are, as far as like, if you admire our life in any way, if you look at our lives and you're like, man, I really wish that I could be as vulnerable as that, or I really wish that I could be on the road like Anne is, or I really wish that I could have the kind of fitness consistency that Shakti has, or whatever it is about us that you watch and you say that, you've got to understand that it comes from this really profound willingness to figure it out, And you've got to know also that you have the capacity to figure it out. You absolutely do. You're not missing the ability to do that. You might be missing support. You might be missing a community. You might be missing a really solid coach. You might be missing someone who has done the thing before you did the thing, so that you could have a lantern on that dark road, you know. But you're not missing the capacity to walk the road. You're not missing the capacity to figure this out, you know. And you designed your life prior to being here. You designed a very specific life for what you came here to learn, what you came here to do. Before you incarnated, you created a life plan. And that life plan was not like detailed, like, I'm going to marry a person by this name and blah, blah. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about what you came here to fulfill for yourself, what your soul came here to learn, what it came here to grow from, what it came here to experience. You decided what you wanted to do. So when you come here and you're faced with the obstacles that are giving you the opportunity to learn those things, and you back down from it, the reason you feel continuous discontent is because you are directly going against something that your soul decided it wanted to do when it got here. So by you backing down, you are going against this contract, so to speak, that you generated. And you can feel the dissonance between what you're doing and what you're supposed to be doing. And that dissonance feels like depression, anxiety, despair, all those things, all those feelings. That's what the dissonance feels like. So if you want to get really woo about it and really metaphysical about it, that's what it is. That's what's going on. So every time you deny yourself the capacity to grow, you are actually going against the very thing you designed for yourself to grow. And that's why you feel so out of sorts. And that's why going through it is so important. That's how you refine. It's like metal, right? Like when a blacksmith is working metal, you've got to put it in the fire. You've got to pull it out. You've got to hammer the shit out of it. You've got to put it back in the fire. You got to pull it out. Got to hammer the shit out of it again. Over and over again. Fire, hammer, all of which feels like shit to the metal, I am sure. But by the end of it, you get a sword. So that's how this works. That is the exact same process for yourself. By the end of it, that piece of rod becomes this really refined, beautiful, really sharp-edged weapon for a very specific task. But it had to be put under a lot of pressure in order for it to come out that way. Otherwise, you don't get the sword. You don't get the design for the specific task, if that makes sense.
Yeah, well, and it's like I said in one of our previous videos, like I made the comment that there are moments when I'm like so pissed at my soul because I'm like, oh, I can't believe you want me to do this. I mean, and that's exactly why, right? Because my soul came here for a very, my soul so wants the freedom of being on the road, because when I'm like doing this and things are flowing, it feels like somersaults in my body. It's like my soul's like, woo! Like so excited. I'm like, all right, so we're on the right path. Good to know. But
everything's being punched in the face. Fantastic.
But when I'm not, like Shakti said, like when I'm not so when I was stuck in Mississippi for I almost said 8 years, 8 months, and like stuck by choice. I chose to be there, right? But I allowed myself to be stuck. It's always a choice. It's always a choice to remain stuck. And I allowed myself to be stuck. I allowed myself to give in to the fear. And what happened was I struggled to create. I struggled to show up. Weight started to pack on again. Like there were things that happened in my life that really showed me this is not where you need to be. Like this is not what you signed up for. When you left Chicago, this is not what you signed up for. And it was terrifying to take that next step. But as soon as I started, it was like my soul was like, yes, this is what I signed up for. Thank you for listening. And you can feel it in your body, just like Shakti said, with all of those different emotions. Like the emotions, it's an emotional guidance system for a reason. It's just like a GPS, right? And when you are off track and you feel the depression or the anxiety or the uneasiness or feeling unsettled or anything like that, you can reroute. You can get back on path, but you have to be paying attention. You have to look at the map, right? You have to know that, like, okay, I'm off on a dirt road somewhere and I'm not on the blue line anymore. Where the fuck am I? Okay, time to get back on track, and then you feel that joyfulness and the happiness and the peace and the love. And like when you feel that, that's how you know you're on the blue line. That is your blue line.
I'll give you a very simple, immediate example of that because it just happened to me. So like 2 minutes before getting on this video call when we did, I was in a horrible state energetically. And I was actually talking to Anne about this, about how it's been a long time since I felt so anxious and really depressed, actually. Today has been really emotionally heavy for me. I've been carrying a lot of, like, just being really short with my son and being short with myself, and the mental game has been out of control. It's been hard. It's been a hard day. But I had the option of being like, and I can't get on the podcast tonight because I am so emotionally exhausted. I don't know how I'm going to show up. Or I had the option of showing up and just being my damn self. And if I was depressed and gloomy the whole fucking time I was on this call for an hour, then that's the bitch you were going to get. You know what I mean? Or I could have what is happening now, which is I feel better because I'm doing what my soul came here to do. Because teaching you guys is what I came here to do. And just being here and showing up and seeing Anne and being able to share this message has already shifted my energy like this. Okay? But trudging up those stairs to get into my office, boy, I was like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do any of this. I don't want to get on camera. I'm crazy. I don't want to do this at all. That's what was going on. But I made a choice. And the choice was to show up for you guys. Because there's an expectation and there's a responsibility that I have that I set up for myself because I love doing this and because this is a part of my soul contract. And it made a difference in how I feel now.
100%.
So,
like, preach 100%. Because, and again, like, I mean, yeah, Shakti and I talked before this, and we've had very similar experiences recently where we also feel like we've gotten punched in the face multiple times. And, you know, today was a day of travel. I wasn't traveling very far, but it's still, there's a transition. Ego struggles with transitioning from place to place, because every time I leave a place and go to a new place, it's that fear of, is the next place going to be better, the same, worse, whatever? Like, is it going to be this? I almost experience loss, right? Every single time I transition from place to place. And so I came to a new place and I've got to get my shit in. And first of all, I had to like pack all my shit into the car and then drive here and then unpack get the cat settled. Like, I had to go grocery shopping. Like, there's a lot that I had to do, right? And I almost, same with Shakti, like I almost thought like, oh man, maybe I don't show up tonight, you know, because I don't know. I don't really feel all that with it. I don't know what the hell I'm going to talk about. Like, I didn't know any of that. And so, but it's the same thing. I was like, okay, I show up and I know what to say, and I feel so much better. And I know that I'm going to go to bed in alignment. Like, I know I am, because again, like, I'm a teacher at my core. Shakti is a teacher at her core. Our souls came to teach. We came to teach, like, in whatever capacity, we're here to teach. And if we're not teaching, we do not feel ourselves. We don't feel in alignment.
Amen. And Kelly, to answer your question of how do you get out of your comfort zone, is you fucking jump off that bitch. Like you're cliff diving in Costa Rica. That's how you're gonna get out of your comfort zone. There's really no way. Like, I just made a post about this the other way. Like, you're only ready when you say you're ready. Like, there's no such time as like, oh, now I'm ready.
There's no right time. There is no right time.
Yeah, no, that doesn't, no one, your children are not going to act a certain way. Your partner's not going to be 100% on board. Your mother-in-law is not going to move to another planet. Like, nothing is going to fall into alignment such that you're going to be like, oh, now I can be myself. No. You step out of your comfort zone when you do the thing that makes you want to vomit inside when you think about it, when you just do it. That's it.
Well, Tony Robbins talks about burning the boats, right? Like, getting on the island and then burning the boats. And that's exactly, like, for me, stepping out of my comfort zone consists of making announcements to people, telling people I'm going to do things, because once I say it, it has to happen, right? So, like, when I said I was going to move somewhere, I started telling people. When I decided that I was going to sell all my shit and leave Chicago, I made a Facebook Live video and I started posting about it, and I told friends and family members about it. And it was scary because I was like, what if I fail? What if it doesn't happen? What if the timeline doesn't add up? And then, well, no one fucking cares. You know what I mean? But it's like, it's the fact that you're still telling people. Same thing with writing my book. I was just telling the host today, I was like, I'm saying this again because I'm going to do it, but I'm writing a book about this. You know, it's like I have to keep saying that to hold myself accountable, because it's scary. And if I only keep it to myself, no one ever knows if I ever stepped outside of my comfort zone or not.
So I do that as well. I use announcements. I also journal to get clarity on what exactly I want to do.
Yeah.
So journaling helps me kind of reflect on what is it that I want to step out of my comfort zone for? Like, what am I trying to break through? What is the thing that I'm trying to get through? I use that. Of course, meditation is like a pivotal tool because it helps you see in your mind, it helps you see yourself doing the thing. And that helps a lot. Visualization is really important, and athletes use these, performers use this because it works. If you can actually visualize yourself doing the thing that you're so scared of doing, and you do that enough and just see yourself handling it well, like handling it with grace, you will actually be able to do that. You will program your mind to have that expectation, and then you will be able to do the thing. That's a really important thing.
The other thing too that so Kyle Cease talks about paying attention to what feels light in your body and what feels heavy. So along with Shakti's visualization, so this is also helpful if you're not sure if you should be going in a certain direction, or if you're trying to decide between, one of two things. Sit, visualize, and like visualize yourself going down path A, whatever path A is, right? And just pay attention to how does it feel in your body? Where do you feel it in your body? Do you feel it in your head? Do you feel it in your heart? Does it feel light? Does it feel heavy? If you feel it in your heart and if it feels light, then you know you're on the right path. If you feel it in your head and it feels heavy, not the right path. So, path A, path B, or just even one like singular thing. How does it feel? Does it feel exciting? Yes, there's probably some butterflies and some uncertainty, but really tap into that feeling and you'll know if it's the right choice or not.
Those are some preliminary things that we do before we actually do the thing, but the thing is to be done. There's no mistake about it. Like, you gotta do it. Gotta do the thing. Gotta say the thing. Gotta do the thing. Gotta be the thing. Got it. That's it. Yes, accountability is huge, which is why that's like the primary thing I use for fitness 100%, because peer support is like fantastic to get you to see yourself in a new way. It's not just about like pushing you, it's about people seeing you capable of what you say you want to do. It's about having a whole bunch of other people seeing you the way you want to be seen, because it's a lot easier to hold a vision for yourself when you've got a lot of other people holding the same vision for you, because then it just magnifies your vision for yourself, which is what a mastermind really is, which is what the concept behind a mastermind is, having multiple people holding an energetic imprint of what you are desiring for you so that you can get there faster.
Which is exactly what Shakti and I were talking about this earlier today when we were talking about this whole topic we were going to go live on anyway. I said, it's been interesting. There are some coaches out there, or some entrepreneurs out there that say, like, I'm self-made. I didn't have anyone. I didn't have any help. And then you have other ones who are really honest and saying, I couldn't have done it on my own. And I think the truth is that, I've heard other coaches recently say, like, no one is self-made. And I think that's absolutely true. Like, I don't believe that that anyone can have the growth that's, like the growth specifically that Shakti, and I can really only talk about us, but like the growth that we have without having some sort of accountability, without having some sort of mentorship, without having some sort of support. And I know that, like, I've hired coaches, like specific coaches, business coaches and different life coaches, but she hasn't necessarily hired coaches, but she's had mentors. She's had so many mentors in her life. So, like and then we've both had each other, obviously, and we've had our own mastermind that we've been a part of, and we've had other groups that, so we've had a lot of support during this. And I just think that to have any expectation that you're going to do it on your own, you're bullshitting yourself. Like, you're literally setting yourself up for failure to be like, nah, I'm good. I can do this on my own.
That's an egoic protection, you guys. Like, you need to understand that when you say that, that's your ego that wants to keep you small, because your ego is afraid of change. Like, and also your ego is afraid of being called out. Like, let's be legit. Like, the reason you don't want to join a fitness accountability group, the reason you don't want to hire a coach, the reason you don't want to be part of a mastermind is because you're afraid of being called out for your shit, which is what your ego doesn't want. Your ego doesn't want to be called out. It wants to stay comfortable and small and living the kind of shitty life that it's used to living. Like, that's what it wants to do, but your soul doesn't want that. Your soul does want to have a bigger experience of life. So this is where you've got to like get over that wall of just being on your own and honoring your ego and decide, no, I'm going to honor my soul. I'm going to get humble and like put my ego aside and be willing to have a reflection of me that might make me uncomfortable for the sake of growing me, because I know that that's important. So valuable. So, and I did actually hire a coach many, many years ago when I was doing Sabatov training, nonviolent communication training, which I did their life mastery program for like 6 months. So I had a lot of one-on-one contact with some pretty intense and powerful coaches who were relentless in their ability to like hold space and really call you out on your shit. Particularly a small, very petite French woman who was like no nonsense.
I forgot about her.
Not flip at all. Was the real fucking deal. She's amazing.
Well, yeah, so friends obviously are so important for accountability, but coaches bring it to a whole new level, right? And then I want to respond to Kelly's comment, because I will tell you that to say it's hard when you have no self-motivation, that's a bullshit story. That is a story that you're telling yourself. That's all it is.
Story. That's like, I'm not a morning person, or like whatever other thing you think about yourself, like, oh, I'm not good at drawing, I'm not good at playing a guitar. Well, you haven't tried, honestly. The truth is you haven't actually tried. It's just like a belief you have about yourself. And it's based on maybe 1 or 2 experiences in the past where you did not show up for yourself. And so our ego will develop this story, this like theme for ourselves based on like a couple of experiences. It'll be like, yep, no, that's it. Like, you can't do this because once or twice it didn't work.
Remember that one time? Yeah, no. So, well, another thing too is to say that you have no self-motivation. Like maybe the pain hasn't gotten bad enough yet. Like that's also the honest truth. Like when it gets painful enough, when you are knocked on your knees, you'll have the motivation. Trust me.
That's one of the things that Marie Glasheen said to me, that I wanted to murder her little French self when she said it the first time. She was like, you're not sick and tired enough. When you're sick and tired enough, you'll make a change. And I was like, I kill you.
So true, though.
I'm so tired. She's like, not enough. Not enough.
Nope.
Okay. She's right. 100%.
Yep.
100%.
Yep.
Right.
Yep. Like that's, yeah. And there have been moments, right? We've both had this, where you're like sobbing and like just in such emotional pain, and you're like, why the fuck do I keep doing this to myself, you know? And like it's just like, well, because you're not sick enough yet, you're not tired enough yet, you're not in enough pain yet.
Your pain tolerance is too high. Your pain tolerance is too high, which is what I said a couple videos ago. Your pain tolerance is way too fucking high. You're way too much of like a masochistic person. Like you just way too much. Like that's why you haven't gotten sick and tired enough, because you can take too much abuse. And that's pretty common to people who have been abused. Your tolerance for abuse is really fucking high, especially from yourself. You tend to do that to yourself. So this is something that we have to be very vigilant of if you have a history of abuse of any kind, which Ann and I both do, because it will show up as you telling yourself bullshit stories about yourself and letting situations get worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. And you just take it because that's what you're used to psychologically.
Yeah, when someone else isn't abusing you, you abuse yourself. So especially if you've been verbally or emotionally abused before, then when someone else isn't saying those things to you constantly, you take on the job. And you're like, well, and it feels comfortable. Again, not as in like it's enjoyable, but it's familiar. You had that familiar feeling of like, oh yeah, I know this like low shitty feeling. Yeah, this is pretty typical. And so even though you say you want to get out of it, and that's where you tell yourself then, well, I have no motivation, which again, a lot of people I think who have been abused, like they've heard that from other people, you know, like you're lazy, you don't have any motivation, you're never going to get out of this. Well, that's what you keep telling yourself. So, you know, but it's a story. So what we're trying to say is it's a story, and the story can be changed.
Yes. And it's very common, Kelly. Like anybody who's had abuse of, and I think Anne and I have had the same layering of abuse that you've shared. Like, we've experienced similar things, different stories obviously, but similar things. And so it just continues to get ingrained in you. This abuse theme gets ingrained in you, and after a while you feel like that's the only way that you can experience love is through abuse. That's why we stay in abusive relationships. The only way that you can experience like any kind of self-reward is through abuse. If you work really, really, really hard and you like grind yourself to the bone, then you can have the thing that you want. That's a form of abuse. That's a form of masochism. And so these are patterns that become actually quite subtle as you really start to look at yourself and how you operate in your world. And that's why you have to have like eyes open and magnifying glass out. And you have to expose yourself to things like what we're doing right now, but also groups, accountability, coaches, because they see what you can't see because you're so in your story that we have the capacity to be that for you guys because we're not in your story. So we have our own experiences, but we can hold the magnifying glass up and show you, dude, this is what you're doing. Like, this is what's going on. And then you can be like, oh my God, you're right. I am doing that thing. And then you can fix it because the awareness is there, you know. But without the awareness, you can't really create the story, the new story, the change. You need the awareness. That's where it comes from.
Yep.
It's basically our job. Our whole job is to just see what you're missing. Is to really like read between the lines of what. It's not that we know you better than you know. You know you. You are gonna fix you. We're not gonna fix you. What we're doing is just reading in between the lines where you've read it. It's like when you read a book so many times or you watch a movie so many times, you have an expectation of what you're going to hear next or what you're going to read next. But then when you watch it a couple times, like you pick things out, right, that you hadn't picked out the first time. And when someone new watches that movie, they might pick things out that you missed because you have an expectation of what's going to happen in the movie. And you'll be like, they'll make a comment and you'll be like, oh my God, I never realized that person said that. Or, oh my God, I never, whatever. That's what we do. That's what we do. We pick out those things so that you can then be like, I need to look at that. I need to go back and rewrite that.
Yeah, I mean, we help you really tap into yourself, right? I mean, one of the most powerful coaches I ever worked with, like she says, she helps like bring people back home to themselves. That's exactly what it is. Like, coaches help you to go inward and really look at, you know, your patterns, your stories, and also what it is that you really want. Like, we never tell you like, oh, you should do this, or you should do this, or you should do this. But it's what I'm hearing is there's a lot of reflective listening, right? What I'm hearing is we ask really powerful questions that help you to really ask yourself, like, what is it that I really want? You know, our questions are really powerful.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Abby. Thank you for that.
Aww.
That's really
I'm so glad that you hop on with us.
This whole podcast was born out of a desire for us to serve more people. I mean, we have our individual clients and we have our individual realms where we work with people closely, but we really wanted to come together and have like a conversational style of maybe therapy, you could call it that, conversational style of coaching and therapy, and really be real with you guys about it. And that's why the name of this podcast is what it is, because it does suck, y'all. Like, this does not feel good when you're going through it. But you can relax about it, and you can just know that that's what's going to happen. And that doesn't mean the end of the world. It just means you're growing. It just means you're changing. It means you're evolving. And that's what it is.
And see it as something exciting, you know, like that was another thing that was really brought to light with a coach who I worked with. She was like, every time it feels like, you know, shit's getting really sucky, just be like, this is so good. It is so good because it means that you're growing and changing and evolving, and that things are going to continue to get better as you continue to show up for yourself.
Should have said that shit to me tonight. I should have said it before I got on. I should have been like, oh, it's so good that I feel.
But it's true. If you're not feeling shitty, you're not growing in some capacity, you know?
That's true. And I also feel, this is like totally maybe off topic, but I'm going to throw it in here because a lot of women watch us. I also feel like PMS is actually a gift. And I've been sitting on this for a while, this theory of mine. But I feel like our moon cycle, when it comes around and we have that amplification of emotion, which is so typically a typical sign of you about to get your menstrual cycle, which is kind of like where I'm at right now. The name drew you in. Gotcha, girl. See? That was channeled for you. The PMS is actually like a window into your current like dissatisfactions. This is how I see PMS. Like it amplifies wherever you are at this point in your life. Once a month you get this like really, really precise window into where you are not feeling satisfaction in your life and where you are needing more out of your life. And I have switched my perspective from being like PMS is the worst and I hate this to like, what is this showing me? Because I will tell you that every time I've asked that question, there's always something. There's always something. And I feel blessed that as a woman, I get to have that. I get to have that week window of time where I'm like so hyper, I'm tuned in to like where I'm really needing the work. And that I think is just so cool that we get to experience that. And that's a story I've changed for myself about PMS. And it works.
Well, it's kind of like having a monthly Mercury retrograde. Because that's really the purpose of Mercury retrograde.
Yeah,
you know, the purpose of Mercury retrograde is not for shit to get fucked up with your travel and your technology and your communication and to be wanting to punch walls. But it's really, you see, if you're aware enough and if you choose to see it as a gift, you see what is arising, right? What is coming up that no longer is serving you, that needs to be looked at. It's shadow work. That's what it is. It's shadow work, and you choose whether you show up for the shadow work or not. You know, I wanted to quickly, I know we only have like a few minutes left, but I wanted, you know, because we talked about really wanting to share with them what it is that we do. And I think people kind of know, but for anyone who's new to us, what is it that we do? Like, how do we actually show up for ourselves? You know, I know obviously things that we do that are very much the same, but fitness is huge. I know for both of us. I work out 6 days a week, and on the 7th day, I do stretching or rolling or going for a walk or something like that. I'm still moving my body 7 days a week. 7 days a week, I am meditating at least an hour a day. Didn't always start out an hour a day, but now it's at least an hour a day. I am writing affirmations for myself every single day because words of affirmation is my love language. I am journaling. I'm writing letters to God. For me, that's an important relationship that I have with my higher self. Again, that wasn't always a thing for me, but I've built that relationship very consciously. And what else do? I study A Course in Miracles. So I have that kind of, I'm nourishing my soul in that way. And then beyond that, I'm listening to podcasts, I'm reading books, I'm fueling my mind with positive shit all the time. I'm spending time in nature. I have a list of what are things that connect me to my soul, and I'm doing those things. I'm getting enough sleep at night. Typically, I'm not perfect. You know, Shakti and I aren't perfect. We're still human, but there are things that I know that nourishing our body, that's another thing, you know, like there are things that are just non-negotiables because we know the alternative. And it's not that once we made the decision that we were just doing this shit all day, every day without any hiccups. It wasn't that, but it was that when things would become inconsistent, I simply observed, how do I feel on the days that I do this? And how do I feel on the days that I don't do this? And when it got uncomfortable enough, which goes back to what we were saying, it became a non-negotiable. When it got uncomfortable enough to feel that discomfort on a daily basis or day to day or on the days that I wasn't showing up for myself, I made again that commitment to myself of, okay, I'm showing up for myself again because I know the alternative.
I'll name a few things that are different than what you said just to add into it, because I do overlap with a lot of what you said as far as technique. So something that I've been doing a lot is I will ask myself when I'm having a really difficult emotion about something, let's say it's related to my toddler, or because lately he's like a massive trigger in my life. Like my 2-year-old is pretty much the biggest mirror I have right now of triggers. And I honestly, I see a lot of like really difficult tendencies come out in me when I'm like dealing with him. So I'm like glad that that's happening because I really need to look at those things. I'll ask myself, how do I want to feel about this situation? Like I know how I feel right now. how do I want to feel? And then I think of the feeling that I want to have, and I kind of close my eyes even for like a second, and I'm like, how does that feeling feel in my body? And I just kind of try and step into that new feeling and see if I can sit with it for a little bit. And then it usually works really fast, and it like calms me down if I just get a window into that new feeling. And I just ask myself every time I'm faced with like a difficult circumstance, how do I actually want to feel about this? I know what I'm feeling, but what do I want to feel? That practice has been really valuable for me. And then going to bed, falling asleep with a gratitude list in my mind. So I tend to fall asleep and say very specific things, not like generic things. I'll be like, of the day, things that happened that day. I make a very small list until I end up falling asleep reciting a list of gratitudes. Like, I'm so grateful that I was on time to all my appointments that I had today. I'm so grateful that, you know, I went to go get a massage and it was actually a really, really good massage that I really needed. I'm so grateful that my workout was so amazing and I felt so strong when I was doing my workout. So I make a very specific list of things that day that I'm really grateful for, and that's how I end up falling asleep. So those are just two little extra things on top of everything. And I also read all day. I also listen to podcasts all day. I'm also watching videos all day, and we'll share them with each other all the time. Like, we do a lot of the same things. I'm moving into integrating way more meditation into my life just because I'm noticing like my sensitivity levels going up and I'm needing more of that quiet time. So now carving that into my day around my son and around my schedule is becoming a priority because I'm just not getting enough of it. And I can feel it. I can feel the need for it. So I'm currently adjusting in that way. So, you know, we're not perfect. We all have our own life balance, different lives with different demands, and we need to work around them. And that's just the way that it is. But we're constantly striving to listen to what we need and to fill that need. And that's what gives us an edge when it comes to our personal development or our awareness or our ability to teach to you guys, is because we're constantly adapting and improving and looking for ways to improve.
Well, and hearing you talk too about the fact that you're planning on implementing more meditation because you see what happens, like you're noticing that you need more meditation. And one of my favorite Gabby quotes is, you know, Gabby Bernstein, she says that when people tell her, like, I don't have time to meditate, her response is, do you have time to feel like shit? I mean, like, that's the alternative. If you think that if you think it's, and it's same goes for working out or not nourishing your body. If you think that you don't have time to meditate, or you don't have time to work out, or you don't have time to meal prep, or you don't have money to invest in nutritious food, then what you're saying is, I have time or can afford to feel like shit. That's what you're telling yourself, straight up.
Broke. I can afford to be broke.
Yep.
Every time someone tells me they don't have money to invest in themselves, I can afford to be broke.
Yep.
I can afford like shit. I'm like, all right, well, you can afford to be broke. I couldn't. I sure as fuck couldn't. I couldn't afford that at all.
Yeah.
I need to turn that around. And I did. Yeah, that is
100%. And
how many people we know have done that?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
With nothing and turn it around like that.
Well, and going back to Shakti, what she said earlier, I don't remember exactly what you were saying, but it was earlier tonight when you were talking about, you know, people feeling the pain and then turning around. Like, she and I have both experienced when someone will reach out to us saying, I want to work with you. And then we'll talk about whatever the price is. And then they're like, oh, I don't have the money. And they turn their ass around and say, no, thanks. But the thing is, like, if you're not willing to invest in yourself in some way, shape, or form, things aren't going to change. They're not going to change. And what you're telling yourself is, I'm not worthy. Or you're also telling yourself the story that you don't trust or believe in yourself enough to spend the money. But again, when shit gets painful enough, you'll pull out that card, you'll pull out that wallet, you'll pull out that whatever, and you'll invest because it has gotten too painful. And like, we've both been there, right? Where it's like, yeah. I don't have the money for this. I don't have the money for this. Every single time I've invested in a coach, I did not have the money sitting in my bank account. Every single time I invested in a coach, I had to figure shit out because I was in so much pain that not hiring a coach was not an option for me. Because I was I refuse to stay where I am because I'm in so much pain and I don't care what it costs, but this is the person I want to work with and I'm going to figure that shit out. And every single time it has paid off and I've made massive change in my life.
Mm-hmm. I was like, I will print money. Like, I was literally like, I will go and make some physical money to pay for this shit because I need the help.
Yes.
Like, I have to do whatever. And because I was at that point. And that's at this point in my career, helping with people in community. It's like I'm willing to work with the people who are willing to work.
Yep.
You know, I know it's not easy. I know you might have to make some sacrifices and really kind of hustle a little bit just to get started, just to get you over that ledge. Like, I understand that because I did that. And I will help you all the way, get organized, figure it out, set up a timeline, whatever you need to do. But you've got to know that until you're really willing to put skin on the line, you're not going to get anywhere. You're not going to get what you want. You're not going to get the same result as someone else who did. You got to understand that.
Yep.
That's it.
100%.
We could close with that because that's really the whole point of this video.
I know. Like because that's the thing. We could continue to talk forever, and we both need to go. But that's it. And go back, listen to this again. I know there's 2 parts, but I'm going to link them so that you'll have easy access to find both. Go back and listen to this again because this one is a really, really, really powerful message. And even if you've heard it, you're going to need to hear it again.
All right, guys. Thanks so much for hopping on. As always, we love you. We're here every Monday. We are working on creating a membership site for you guys to work like once a week with us closer, like more of a group setting. So stay tuned for that. We'll be dropping in hints of like how that's going to work and what it's going to, the membership cost is going to be, etc. But we'll also put our email and our websites underneath the video so you guys can get touch base with us as well.
Yep.
Okay.
All right. Have a good night, guys.
Bye, guys.